U.S. farmers set a record for net farm income in 2013 at more than $123 billion. For the 2015 fiscal year, the USDA believes producers' net farm income will be less than $56 billion. Further, the drop from 2014 to 2015 is expected to be the biggest single-year plunge since 1983. The decline isn't exclusive to one area either. The agency believes receipts from crops will fall nearly 9% and those from livestock will go down 12%. At the Farmers and Ranchers College held in December in Bruning, Nebraska, David Kohl spoke about positioning operations for success in the future. We spoke with David at the Bruning Opera House during a break in his presentation about challenges ahead in 2016. We began by asking about the mood of ag audiences as he's traveled the country this fall and winter.
I think one of the things is we're in this economic reset in agriculture, and of course we're coming off the great economic super cycle. The mood is, kind of cautious out here, and one of the things that I would have to say, whether it's producers or whether it's lenders or agribusiness, they're all here for insight. And the other element is they're looking at how they can position themselves, particularly for this reset period. So I would have to say quite cautious, but also still looking for opportunity.
How serious do you think the threat is ahead? Are we talking about the threat of failures and defaults?
I think one of the things that we're going to see, and we're in a reset period that starts in 2016. It could last till 2020. Initially, one of the things that you will see, you probably won't see too many defaults, but you're probably going to see a number of producers rejected on operating lines of credit. There's going to be a lot of refinancing. Those that don't get the opportunity to refinance or are declined on operating credit, it's going to get very, very tough and very, very difficult very quickly.
What are the good managers doing right now in their operations?
Good managers are focused on 2 or 3 areas. Number one, they're looking at how they can cut costs, particularly on cash rents. Number two, and we're really experiencing this, that they're cutting back on machinery investment and machinery costs. And then number three, this will surprise you, they're looking at powering off some of the family living costs. Because if you think about it, in that period from 2007 to 2012, farm family living costs doubled. And now that we're kind of in this reset period, both in the crop and the livestock industry, powering back that family living cost is going to be very critical.
Let's talk about the strength of the U.S. economy. What do you think the chances are that this one heads into a recession this year?
It's real interesting. We're about the 78th, 79th month of business expansion since the last recession. The PAR is about 84 months since 1969. Citibank came out the other day and said a 65% chance of recession. Dr. Yellen, chairperson of the Federal Reserve, said no chance. I think it's above 50%. And what I'm starting to experience, it's starting in the core of the country, in the Midwest, in manufacturing, agriculture, and energy. And I think it's spreading out toward the East and West Coast. So I think it's 50% or plus. And that's going to be very critical to the beef industry, because one of the things is if we go into recession, people will substitute other meats for beef. So our ag producers have got to keep a very close eye on that.
Let's move globally. What does the slowdown in China mean for producers here in the Midwest?
It's interesting you ask that question. I was in Lincoln, Nebraska at the Fall Agribusiness Conference, and a speaker the day before said China doesn't matter. China does matter. Well, it's only 1% of the U.S. economy. It's very, very critical for the flyover states. That's what Wall Street and Washington, D.C. calls ag and rural America. And one of the things, they really fueled the super cycle, the insatiable demand for food, fiber, and fuel. So China is real critical. And one number you need to keep an eye on in China, the official growth rate is 6.9%, but my boots on the ground in China say it's basically 2 to 5%. And so if they should slow even further, it's going to have some devastating impact on ag and rural America. It'll hit the machinery sector, manufacturing sector as well. China does matter.
What other parts of the world are you keeping an eye on?
I'm keeping my eye on all the emerging nations, ranging from Brazil to Indonesia to India. But I'm also keeping my eye on the Middle East. And if you really think about it, oil. Every recession since 1969, oil's been a lead indicator. Oil prices too high or too low. And that oil, Jed Clampett's black gold, is very critical. So keeping your eye on the Middle East and any oil-producing nation, including Russia, is going to be very, very critical. And then the final area, keep an eye on Europe. Consumer trends, social trends, and I would have to say governmental trends often start in Europe, and then they come to the United States 8 to 10 years later. And so kind of keep an eye on Europe as a bellwether.
Let's talk about two age groups of producers here to close out. Let's start with millennials. What advice can you give them as they enter what is not a very hospitable environment of agriculture?
Well, I think one of the things I would tell any young person, the best opportunities come during the reset or the down period, because everybody wants to be in it when it's great. And one of the things that you're going to see is a tremendous opportunity for millennials, because a number of the older producers are coming up to me and saying, you know, maybe I'm going to cash out. And another note for millennials, 21% of the farmers and ranchers have no next generation to come back, so that's opportunity. But our whole banking, ag lending sector, our agribusiness sector, there's a satious demand for opportunities, because up to half of our ag lenders will be gone in the next 5 years. So there's going to be tremendous opportunities, and also just the ability to carve out their part in life. It's going to be, I see, a tremendous opportunity.
Now, the older producers that are starting to wind down their operations, what do they need to know here with perhaps significant risk ahead?
Well, first of all, they got to live till they die. And I say that facetiously, but oftentimes the older producer thinks about an estate plan. Well, you got to think about, are you going to have enough money or investment to have a standard of living till you die? So things like long-term health care insurance, medical insurance, very, very critical. The other element is, if they're going to transition their business to the next generation or to someone else, what's going to be that transition plan? They're going to have to ask the real tough questions. What's going to be my role? What's going to be the new person's role out here? So again, that transition management is going to be very critical to anyone over 50 years of age watching this program.